guys, and I'm so happy to have you here back on my channel. Today we're going to tackle and dig into episode 6, where we're talking a little bit about some other consequences, if you will, possible consequences. It doesn't mean everybody goes through this, of especially of sexual and physical abuse. Today I decided I'll become even more vulnerable, maybe in a way that I did up to now, and let's dig into it. As you saw from the title, today we're going to talk about vaginism and other consequences. But let's start with vaginism. So what is vaginism? Vaginism is the involuntary contractions of the vaginal muscles, which can either produce a lot of pain during penetration or make it impossible. Surprise, surprise. I got married when I was 21. I was a virgin when I got married. But we did face this issue. I thought I was pretty healed from the abuse, but I do believe, looking back at it, and even then in my discussions with Sam, I kind of did believe that there was something left, in the back of my mind that I didn't deal with. Although I was very consciously working the process of healing and everything, that kind of brought to this issue in our marriage. Those days people would not talk about vaginism, even obstetricians, gynecologists, they wouldn't talk about it. They wouldn't diagnose you with vaginism. Nowadays we do have this amazing girl in Romania who talks about this issue. She opened up about her problem with vaginism and how she got healed from it. She actually opened a center, actually pretty close to our town, where she's got this therapeutic center where women can go, and through therapy and following a certain treatment, if you will, they get healed from vaginism. Back then, when I got married, we didn't have her. People would not talk about it. There was nothing like that, no information in Romania. So we just left by ourselves. We did manage. Eventually, I got pregnant with my first son, and I do believe, looking back at it now, that obviously, realizing or not realizing, I did work through some of the issues that were kind of maybe left behind as a follow-up from the abuse. As I said in the second video, forgiveness is an event, but it's also a process. So obviously there were still some steps to do in this process that I thought I did, but obviously there were still some leftovers, let's say, there that kind of mess up a little bit with my mind, which made my body react the way it did. After I got pregnant with my first son, I thought, I'll probably give birth, and that would kind of sort out the issue. We still had a bit of issue, and that would be that. But surprise, surprise, I gave birth by emergency C-section. So I remember after giving birth to my first son, I went to the gynecologist. I was a bit more, let's say, unafraid, open to talk about issues. And I just shared the issues we had and the pain. And basically, I just received a lot of empathy from the doctor. He was super, super nice. A renowned doctor around here. He was very gentle, nice. He just kind of gave me compassion. He did not have a treatment for me. He did not have a solution. And that was that. So I went home, and we were again left by ourselves to deal with the issue. I believe that throughout these years, of course, getting pregnant with the first one was the hardest bit, but then it got a little bit easier, although it still had some issues. And then I got pregnant with my second son, and after giving birth to him, things started getting better and better. Up to the point where we have no problem with vaginism anymore. But I do believe it was very much connected to the healing journey and the issues that were kind of left in the back of my mind and still affected me. So I just want to encourage you who are listening, if you are dealing with this issue or others that I'm going to talk about, feel free to look for help. I don't know what's the standpoint of the gynecologist where you live, but in Romania, I've seen here and there, that gynecologists do give a diagnosis nowadays. I'm not sure they do have a treatment for it. but there is treatment. There are centers. If anything, you can write to me and I'll definitely give you the details of the Romanian centers that we have. The girl who founded the center, she speaks English, so you would have no issues getting in contact with her. So, or if somebody that you know, maybe they dared opening up, which is a big thing for somebody who goes through something like this, to actually open up and talk about it. So if you have somebody who opened up towards you, please do receive them with open hearts, because it takes big guts to talk about the issue while you're still facing the issue. It's easy after you passed by it, like I do now. It's in the past, we got over it, but it's much harder when you are in the middle of the issue. Now, moving forward to other possible consequences of abuse. As I said in many of the videos, I'm super grateful for the way my parents lived their faith, for the way they modeled Christ to me, because I know this played a super big part in my healing journey and in me being who I am today. I'm just going to kind of just drop a few points because I want to bring it somewhere. But personally, I do not believe that a person is born gay. That's just my opinion. I do believe that there's something there. It doesn't necessarily have to be abuse, yeah? I do believe also that nowadays, it's a whole trend, and especially for the young people, if they want to be trendy, they have to join the movement. But I do believe that a lot of the people that are actually struggling realistically, not just being pushed by the flow, if you will, but are struggling sincerely with attraction with the same sex, or with gender confusion or anything like that, I do believe that there is a trauma at the back of it. It doesn't necessarily has to be abuse. It could be the divorce of some of their parents. It could be a very dominating mother or father. It could be lack of love. It could be a lot of other traumas. But one of these traumas, I do believe it is or could be sexual and or physical abuse. I said I'm just going to tackle into it, and that's because I want to call the Christians to a bit more love towards these people. I do not agree. I do not agree with the behavior and with the fact that they're trying to go in schools and just kind of exploit, if you are children. But I do believe we have to show a bit more kindness and compassion. There's a different thing about dealing with the group as a group and as a mentality, and there's a different way of dealing with the individual. There are a lot of people actually that hurt, and they are around us. And we judge them by their choices, by the way they live, by the way they express themselves. But they are just hurt people. And the last thing they need is a Christian to go and bang them on the head and pointing fingers and throwing the stone. Yeah, as I said, we have to speak what the Bible says, and the Bible says that homosexual behavior, it is simple. Let's speak like that. I hope YouTube let my video up, just because we do have freedom of speech and I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying plainly what I believe the Bible tells us. But in the same time, we do have to show kindness. Just think about the Bible. Think about Jesus. When they brought the woman who was caught in adultery. Yeah, she was caught in the middle of having sexual relationships with a guy who was not her husband. And they dragged her out. Probably she hardly managed to put something around her. I was trying to think of a word for like the beddings. And she was just dragged, being prepared to be stoned to death, because that's what the law said. And what did Jesus show? Jesus showed to this woman kindness, compassion, love. Yeah, he spoke the truth. He said, go. I'm not going to judge you either, but go and sin no more. He spoke the truth, but he did it in such a loving and such a compassionate way. Basically, I just want to call you to show a bit more kindness, especially when you have to deal with the individual. I understand that, yeah, I do agree, we do have to have petitions, and I don't want my 3-4 year old to be taught about everything and be shown everything sexually, and yeah, let's do the petitions. But in the same time, when we're dealing with the individuals, let's show a little bit more kindness. Let's be a bit more like Christ. Speak the truth, but don't forget the love, to speak it in love. Because we're talking about the trauma that could be at the back of somebody who has attraction for the same sex or a gender confusion. Again, I'm repeating, not everybody who has an attraction, not everybody who has a gender confusion has an abuse in the background. There could be a lot of causes, but I'm just talking about this specific niche, if you will. And we do have us personally, we do have an example. We talked a long time ago with a young guy who was part of a church. So he was going to church, and he just happened to open up towards Sam and I, we were together, that he was having attraction for the same sex. And we tried lovingly, without judging him, just kind of embracing him, if you will, showing him kindness, showing him love, kind of asking him a few more questions here and there, as we saw that he was willing to open up. Again, show wisdom, don't force. But in our discussions, he did open up, and he did say that, so in his childhood, he was very much always, you're a girl, you're such a girl, you're so girly. And he kept hearing this throughout his childhood. And then in his teenager years, he did have some sexual experiences with some guys, friends and relatives, and that kind of pushed him even more into this having attraction for the same sex. There's a trauma there that happened to him. That's what pushed him. And we just showed compassion to him. We prayed for him. We tried telling him what the Bible says. There's a difference between being tempted or having a feeling and acting upon it, feeding that feeling. There's this guy, I don't know his name right now. If I find his profile, I'm going to link it down below, especially because he speaks in English. He talks about the Bible and what the Bible says, but he's very sincere that he still struggles with same-sex attraction. He just decided not to act upon it. So there's a difference between feeling attracted to same-sex or actually go further and act upon it. Big difference. Being tempted is not a sin. Falling into temptation is a sin. Just to make a little bit the difference between these two. Another behavior, if you will, that can result out of abuse, sexual and physical abuse, is the addictions. It could be addictions to pornography, addictions to alcohol, addictions to drugs. This jumping from one relationship to another, up to a point that you have no idea how many partners you have because you're just going from one to the other. All of this could be, doesn't mean that they are, but they could be a consequence of abuse. There is a Bible verse in here, in the scriptures, that says in the Songs of Solomon, it says, "Do not awaken love before its time comes." Meaning there's a time to act upon your sexual needs, if you will. God gave them to us. Sex was created by God. Let's remember that the devil does not create anything, he just perverts. God created sex, but there is a place and a time for it, and that place and time is inside of a marriage between a husband and a wife. And this Bible verse, "Do not awake love before its time comes." I'm not sure exactly how it says in English because I did not check it out, but that's what the Romanian version says. And it's so much truth. Unfortunately, the love or sexual desire in many people was awakened before its time, and it was to no fault of the person abused. So it's the same with the child. When he's being sexually abused, whether the abusive act actually happens or he's being exposed to sexual content. I did not jump from one relationship to another. Actually, I only had 2 boyfriends, 2 relationships before Sam. They're very clean and how they should be. But on the other side, I did have some issues with pornography. And for some people, and I just want to address this, for some people that went through abuse, pornography is a coping mechanism. I won't go too much into this. There's a lot of studies online about this. Please do listen to professionals, people that dealt with this and they study and they have a lot of baggage in a good way and a lot of knowledge to be able to help you. But although the fact that pornography is a coping mechanism, or this jumping from one relationship to another is a coping mechanism, it does not excuse the sin. And unfortunately, I've heard lately a lot of Christians that say pornography is fine. And I'm like, seriously? My Bible says in the New Testament where Jesus is speaking, he's saying if you look at somebody lustfully, you already committed the sin in front of God, yeah? There's obviously a difference and a different magnitude when you're actually doing the sin with somebody, or it's just through a mental picture, if you will. But pornography, it is a sin. So the Christians that say it's okay, read the Bible, guys. But anyways, getting back to my subject. Before you judge, I'm coming again to the judgment, because I see it so much lately in churches, in the Christians, just showing, pointing the finger, being ready to throw the stone. Before you judge, before you just try and sort out the symptoms, let's try and go to the root. If somebody's struggling with pornography, jumping from one relationship to another due to an abuse that happened in the past, first and foremost, you have to kind of deal with the healing of that trauma and then slowly work your way out to the symptoms. If you're just trying to sort out the addiction, that person will find a different coping mechanism. They might go to self-cutting, they might go to different addictions. It might not be pornography anymore, but they might jump into alcohol or drugs. It's very important that we go and treat the cause, not just the symptoms. I just wanted to put this out there because it's super, super, super important. Kind of, this is what I wanted to share today. Just basically making you aware of some issues that people deal with. In the same time, if you are a person that deals with one of these things that I mentioned, there could be others. I just decided that this is what I'm going to talk about. If you're one of those people, maybe it's a call for you to try and work your way back and see the cause, see what's causing all of this consequences. You can treat the symptoms, and treating the symptoms works for a while. But if you're not treating the cause, the symptoms will reappear, either the same way, either stronger, or in a different way. But the symptoms never go away unless the source of the problem goes away. Thank you guys for sticking around. I hope, as I said, I hope it is encouraging. I would love to hear a feedback from you. Don't forget to write to me if you want the information of the Romanian Center dealing with healing vaginism. And as I said, I would love to hear a feedback. If the comments are working on YouTube, I've had so many issues with it. Please do leave me a comment. If not, I'll wait for you on Instagram and Facebook. I'll leave the links down below. And don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. It's so important. You're helping me immensely. If you subscribe and like the videos, it helps the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, guys, I'll see you next time when we're going to talk about our kids. We're going to talk about some ways in which we can protect our kids. And I'm saying this from a perspective of a child that was abused. So see you next time, guys. Be blessed. Bye.